to the Evolvepreneur Secret Show for entrepreneurs, and I'm your host, Brian Silverthorne. And it's always my mission to help entrepreneurs make a difference in their business and to navigate the sometimes messy worlds of growth, startup, or relaunch. And today we're going to dig deep with our guest and get you the best concepts and strategies to fast track your business. And our special guest today is Elsa Mitchell. And Elsa helps women in business thrive by providing the clarity they need, the community they need, and implementing the foundations they need in order to make the impact they want. So that sounds like a very ambitious undertaking. Welcome, Elsa.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian.
I'm happy to have you here. I'm anxious to learn a little bit more about you and what you do. So why don't you start off by giving us your background and what got you to this position in the world and what your current focus is?
Well, I've got a pretty broad and varied background, I guess you might say. I actually started out as a hairdresser. I owned a hair salon for 14 years and still one of my favorite businesses of all time, just a good old-fashioned bricks and mortar business. And in amongst all that, I owned a building company with my now ex-husband, and we built high-end luxury homes. And one of the things, I mean, those two businesses couldn't be any more different, right? One was full of women and one was full of men.
Yeah, that's true.
And what I noticed was that it didn't really matter what kind of business you had. They all need the same basic foundations in which to grow from. So, and I always kind of had more of a love for running the businesses as opposed to working in the businesses. I'm a bit of a loser and I don't have a lot of hobbies. Which is an ongoing joke around my household. I'm like, this is my hobby. It's what I love doing and is learning and always learning the ins and outs of what makes a business tick and all kinds of businesses because it's a really fast-changing world. So it's a lot of work to keep up, I think. Yeah, so after doing that, I had a good friend at the time. Her name was Christy. And she was a bit of a geek and she was into SEO and building websites and she was really bloody good at it. So we kind of teamed up and we were both actually blogging back in the day, which wasn't that long ago, when blogging was a cool thing to do. And I was one of the few people back then that was blogging for my business. Everybody else was blogging to be a cool blogger. And I quickly figured out some stuff, I guess, that was really good at helping me grow my businesses online. And so Christy and I decided to team up and I thought, what a great idea. Let's have a third business. And we started traveling around Western Australia because I am a farm girl. I grew up on a little sheep and wheat farm in Wheatbelt, Western Australia. And I have a real love for regional and rural businesses. So Christy and I started traveling around regional WA and we were facilitating digital marketing workshops for the businesses out there. And we loved it and it was amazing and we had some really good experiences. And so I decided I wanted to go all in on becoming a business coach and mentor and coaching and mentoring businesses online. And I still love, because I am very old fashioned, I still love showing up in person for live events, which has obviously been a tricky thing to do in the last couple of years.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and so really sadly, my beautiful Christy passed away last year, and that was a bit of a life-changing moment for me where I just went, fuck it, and I went all in on just working as a business coach and mentor and doing what I wanted to do.
Okay, so your hairdresser business, that's gone. Did you sell that or?
Yes, I sold that. Yep.
Okay, so
And
you had it built, so it was a decent asset and had value then.
that was a fantastic business. The problem over here in Western Australia, not just for hairdressers, for everybody, is finding staff. There's such a major staff shortages. But it was a brilliant business and always will be one of the best decisions I ever made. People are really vain. You know, there's that lipstick economy everybody talks about. It's a real life thing because when times get tough, and I owned that business when there was the GFC, and then obviously with COVID hit, it actually turned out for us over, and not bragging because I know a lot of people really struggled, but for over here in Western Australia, it went nuts. Businesses absolutely boomed. They made a shit ton of money. So I still had my salon for the beginning and it was crazy. Like I was doing the months that we were doing Christmas throughout the middle of the year. So but in hard times, women will fire their house cleaner. They will fire their psychologist. They will leave the hairdresser last on the list. They'd starve. They'll eat baked beans.
Yeah, I can't speak from personal experience. I can certainly understand how that would be.
People underestimate the power of a little corner hair salon. I can tell you that right now. Yep. So that is sold, to answer your question in a million words.
Okay, great. So what do you like most about what you're doing now that you've made the transition?
I love, I guess, making a bit more of a difference. You know what I mean? Like, whilst working in those other businesses, the most joy I got out of that was building a team and, giving the best opportunities to my staff. Now I get to do that on a much, much bigger scale, right? I get to work with as many women as I possibly can, trying to help them make a big impact in their businesses and then therefore their lives. So that's what lights me up. I don't like working from home.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me. But that's why I guess the in-person live events fill that void for me.
So when you say live events, do you offer them to a group of women entrepreneurs, or is it within a specific organization and that organization's employees, or a combination thereof?
A bit of a combination. I've been contracted by a lot of local, like in the regional towns. They all have sort of government funded agencies that get funding, right, to provide services for the businesses. So sometimes I'll get invited up to facilitate workshops, they're great because I don't really have to do anything. I just have to show up and say what I want to say. They do all the organizing and getting the people bums in seats. Other times I collaborate, right, with other women in business. So, for example, I'll be in Darwin in the Northern Territory at the end of next month with two beautiful ladies up there. We're hosting our own event that we've put together. So yeah, bit of both.
Okay, well, it's always good if somebody else is, as they say, putting butts in seats.
100%, and you get paid no matter how many butts are in those seats. So
Right,
that's always
exactly
a win.
right. So when you're doing that on your own, how do you attract those people? How do they find you? Well, how do they find you for events, and how do they find you for individual help?
Yeah, okay. So I'm a bit old school, in case you haven't noticed yet. And I've put in the hard yards with building a community, and I've done that online. And I a lot of my business is online, and so I use all the platforms and all the marketing hacks. But I also have worked really hard at just showing up. And I think with a lot of my audience being regional and rural and remote, they have a really solid appreciation for people that show up for them, right? So you build the good thing about people that live in the country. I don't know about over there in America, but over here in Australia, they're bloody supportive and they're fiercely loyal, and there's a lot of power in that. So I have an ongoing joke that my mum, one of the things I teach people around social media is don't underestimate the power of your mum sharing all your stuff on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Because my mum shares everything I put on Facebook or social media. And honestly, you would not believe the clients over the years that have shown up and I've gone, oh my gosh, like someone from my childhood that has gone, yeah, well, your mum's always sharing your stuff, so I thought I better support you. So you never know who your mum's friends with, and you never know who her friends are friends with, and what can come out of it. So I have built my community, I guess, by showing up online. I show up online a lot, but also showing up in real life, which not a lot of people do anymore, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I have a strong, loyal following by targeting those rural areas, and because I am a country girl, I just vibe. I vibe with those people well.
Well, that's good. Well, it sounds like you've got an unpaid PR marketing person on your staff. In your but one quick question, because I used to do stuff in front of groups, and it was nice when other people, as filled the room before I got there. But one thing I've noticed, and maybe this is different in a rural area, in a metropolitan area, there are so many other things going on. A lot of times people would make a commitment and even pay money and then not show up. Which, as long as they paid the money, it was no skin off my nose. But still, you'd like to have them there. So maybe, and this is, you can correct me if I'm wrong, maybe in a rural setting, since there is less to do, and maybe they've got a different attitude about focusing on what they want to do and concentrating on it, that gives you a higher percentage of people coming. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100% that makes sense. Yeah, we have a thing that we are often saying in Perth, and that is events are hard because, exactly what you just said. People, they pay and don't show up. And we always wondered if it was just a Perth thing. But the irony is, if there's an event over in Sydney and Melbourne, everyone's more than happy to jump on a plane and go over there for that event. I think because it's like, woohoo, we can have a tax write-off.
Yeah, right.
But yes, you'd bang on right. In the regional and rural areas, they don't get a lot. They don't have the same access. And they, as much as they all are learning online, right? Because there's so much opportunity online now. And, even probably 10 years ago, I still can't get my head around seeing my dad on a phone in the middle of the paddock. I just still think that's so funny. Like their internet only got, like, I used to have to walk around with my phone, and this is not even that long ago. It's like 5 years ago. But they love people that show up for them. And so they do show up to events because they love them and they love that connection and building those relationships. And they have so community spirited. There's a beautiful girl up in Broome, Felicity Brown, who I adore. She's a milliner up there. She's traveled to New York, been in New York Fashion Week many times. She's this incredible lady, and she shows up to absolutely everything because she said if you don't show up, people will stop coming.
Yeah. Very, very true.
Yeah.
So do you have, I'm sure for your salon and your custom home business, well, every business, so do you have like revenue goals or number of client goals or number of event goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Oh, yeah, don't we all? Yes, absolutely. It's been interesting having the different types of businesses and then, figuring out how to achieve those revenue goals and the differences, like in one respect, I'd have high wages and stock in one business and then, less wages in a more online space, but then you've got all those bloody subscriptions and things you have to pay for, right?
Right, that's true.
Everyone loves to complain about the subscription fees. So yes, always setting revenue goals. Pretty big on you have to be all over your money. I've always kept my businesses with immaculate figures, and I like to call them a well-oiled machine when it comes to money. Because I mean, how often do you see entrepreneurs come unstuck because they haven't taken better care of their money? I've seen so many successful businesses that were iconic almost that have fallen apart because someone didn't pay their staff superannuation. I don't know if you have superannuation over there, but they didn't pay their staff superannuation for 10 years and it's all gone under. So I think being all over your money is so important. And actually in my group online coaching, I regularly bring in a money mindset coach to work with my clients around getting their money mindset right.
Oh, that's good. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So in your relating to your personal business goals, do you have any major roadblocks that you have to deal with that may be keeping you from where you want to go?
That's a really good question. Major roadblock. Yes. I think we all have roadblocks, and aside from just the money mindset, I bring in mindset coaches for absolutely everything, because the one thing I've learnt over the years working with women is quite often they'll be doing all the fundamental things, the foundations, and that's all working, and they'll be like, Elsa, I'm doing all the right things. My social media is good. This is good, but I don't know something's just not quite working. And quite often it is a mindset issue or some kind of block that I'm not completely skilled to unpack. So I recognize that sometimes it's people greater than me that need to do that. But I think even for myself personally, one of the biggest things for me was that imposter syndrome that we all feel, that real fear of what other people thought, which is interesting because I'm quite extroverted. But to be honest, the biggest thing that changed everything for me, and it's sad because you don't want anyone else to have to go through this to learn this lesson, but it was losing my best friend and business partner. I stopped giving a shit about what everybody thought when she died. And now I just show up as me, authentically as me. I swear like a trucker. And I just do that because I've learned as well there's a really great copywriter over here, Jay Criscrow, and I loved what she says about how if you see somebody online, you see them on Facebook or you see them on Instagram, and then you're on their email list, and you're seeing all these different touch points. Then you meet them in real life and they're absolutely nothing like what you thought they were going to be like, according to what they'd put out there in the universe. I bet everyone can relate to that, right? Like I've met people and gone, you are not what you show up as on social media. So I am very aware of showing up as me because I want to make sure that when people get to that stage of being ready to work with me, they know what they're getting. I don't want to waste my time and I don't want to waste their time because, they might finally decide, yep, I'm going to work with Elsa. And then, a week in, they're going to go, she's a bit crazy and not for me.
Well, you're right. A lot of people have a persona that they think the world should view them as, I guess. I'm kind of lazy. I just soon be me because it's easier. And if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, that's fine too. So it sounds like you're in that same area.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears real quick here. You mentioned in some of the preliminary information that you gave that you're thinking about writing a book. Is that true?
Yeah, words are my thing. I'm actually, I love, obviously, but my history from blogging. But yes, I will write a book. I still can't quite land on what that book's going to be about. I think I have so much content.
Yeah.
I've had quite the journey. So yes, I haven't done it yet, but that's my bucket list. I think I will know when I've arrived at the right time to put that in action.
Well, that makes sense. So if you write it, this may be a premature question, but would your intent be to make it a legacy piece, to leave your knowledge and expertise, to put it out there for folks now and also for folks in the future, or would you consider it a lead generation tool?
Probably more of a legacy piece, to be honest. I've had a pretty interesting time.
Yeah.
And I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have a little bit of both in there?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using a legacy piece as a lead generation tool.
Yes, absolutely. So I'd lead with a legacy piece, but hey, we'd throw in some lead generation, wouldn't we? We'd never miss an opportunity for lead generation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I got one final question here. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever given to one of your clients?
The best piece of advice I've ever given, I think for me, it's that I think there's a lot of fear that stands in the way of people getting to where they want to be, and all kinds of fears of being, obviously fear of failure is up there for everybody, but so's the fear of succeeding. People are scared of doing really well because it's like, oh well, holy shit, what happens if my business explodes and I can't keep up and I let everybody down, or I can't manage my kids and my family and my husband leaves me. There's so much that gets in our head, but I just constantly think when you get to the end of your life and I know this because I've seen this, play out with my friend, how much regret will you have? That regret will and you hear it all the time, but it's so true. You will regret not trying way more than that fear you have right now. So I think you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to push past all that, and always just focus on how you're going to feel at the end, that you're going to be happy with what you did with your life, because it goes bloody fast and tomorrow isn't promised. I can't say that enough. Tomorrow isn't promised.
Yeah, nope, never is. All right, well, that's a great advice. We may end there, but before we do that, why don't you tell the people again how they can find you?
Okay, well, you can come and check me out at my website, elsamitchell.com.au, because I'm in Australia, and I have my own podcast, which is called Bossy Bitch. And I'm on Instagram as Elsa Mitchell as well. I hang out on Instagram a lot, even though I probably shouldn't, because there are way other platforms that give me way more leads. But anyway, I'm a sucker for the instant gratification of Instagram engagement. So yeah, you can come and find me there. I do work online with, as I was saying to Brian before we jumped on, I have clients in the US now, which has been fun navigating those time differences. So come and find me that way. And I work with women in business, and I offer a variety of different services, either in a group coaching format or one-to-one. But I always take a free call, as we all do, so you can try before you buy.
Right.
So if you don't mind a little bit of swearing, and I'm told by the Americans that my accent's cute, so surely that's going to be a bit of fun.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, we're going to make that a wrap on another great guest episode for Evolvepreneur Secret Show for Entrepreneurs with our guest, Elsa Mitchell. And just before you go, if you liked it, please take a minute to give us a 5-star review. And if you'd be so kind, recommend it to a couple of your friends to spread the word. And if you want to make sure that you don't miss any future episodes, go to evolvepreneursecrets.show. And if you're an entrepreneur, until the next time, make your next great idea start today. Thanks.